Alright guys, I'm back with another movie review, and today I wanted to do the original Total Recall from 1990 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, because I did see the new one a couple days ago, and I thought it was a good movie, but I do like the original. I have it here. I think I got this at GameStop actually, but I got it for like, if you can see that, $5.99, so I got it really cheap. And it's definitely worth having. It's a good movie to have in a collection. I am a fan of the original. It's hard to beat the original, I think, with the effects they used, with the people's heads exploding and all that type of stuff. I thought they just did a great job for that era. And so for the new movie to even try to beat that, it had a lot to live up to. And they did change a few things in the story, but this video is going to be about the original movie, and it starts off with Douglas Quaid, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's having a nightmare about being on Mars, and his face explodes, basically. They start the movie off with the face exploding, and he's talking with his wife, and he says, you know, sometimes I just feel I'm meant for more. I'm meant to do something more with my life. I keep having these nightmares. I want to go to Mars. Let's take a vacation to Mars. And she tries to talk him out of it, and he agrees. He's like, alright, yeah, you're right, it's a stupid dream. So he goes to work. He works as a construction worker. We actually get the cool X-ray scene, which reminds me of the NES game. That game was horrible, by the way. I remember renting Total Recall for the NES, and that guy would just jump out at you from like the alleyway, and then you would have to fight him, and it just kept happening over and over again. And I was really young when I played it, so it just pissed me off, and I remember renting that, and I was stuck with that game all weekend, and I was so angry. But anyway, so he goes through the X-ray machine on his way to work. He sees a video of Recall, a place where you can get memories of stuff. I mentioned this in the other video of the new movie. You can get memories that you did cool stuff, but you know you didn't really do it, so I don't know. But he sees Recall and how he can have a vacation to Mars, and he starts to wonder about it. At work, he asks a friend of his about it, and he tells him not to do it. Don't risk it, they're going to mess up your mind. But after work, he goes straight to Recall, and the guy tells him maybe he should try a Saturn vacation instead. But Doug wants Mars, damn it. That's what he came for. So he decides to get the secret agent package. And in Recall, he gets to pick the type of woman he wants, and he picks the, the same features from the woman in his dreams. And he falls asleep, and then he starts freaking out. They rush in. They're like, what's wrong with him? What's going on? And they're talking about how his memory has been erased, and he's ranting about Mars, and the guy is like, well, obviously we're giving him a memory of being at Mars, and they say, no, we haven't implanted the memory yet. So he's fighting these people. They sedate him, they make it look like he was never there, and then he wakes up in a cab, and he sees his friend from work. And his friend instantly pulls a gun on him, tells him he should have never gone to Recall, and they get into a big fight. He kills his friend, he kills his friends, I guess this little gang of guys that were trying to take him. He's just kicking everyone's ass. So he goes home and he tells his wife Lori, and then she tries to kill him too. She says that they really just met 6 weeks ago, and it's all been, implanted into his brain, these fake memories of them having a relationship, getting married. His entire life is a lie. The things he knows about his parents are a lie. So all of this was put into his brain by the agency. She asks if he's going to shoot her, and he doesn't. He just punches her and knocks her right out. I was laughing my ass off at that. So Michael Ironside, who plays Richter, and Michael Ironside is a great heel. He's always a villain, and he's always a great villain. And especially as Richter, he did a great job. He shows up with his guards, but Doug escapes. They're using some device to track him, and Doug is trying to get to Mars. He's just going to take a ship. And Cohagen tells Richter that he wants Doug alive. He wants to turn him back into Hauser and change his memories back. So he does want him alive. So Doug's on the run, and he gets a phone call, and it's this guy telling him to put a towel around his head to muffle the tracker in his skull. So for a while, Arnold is running around with this towel on his head, and it looks completely ridiculous. The guy leaves a briefcase for Doug, and Doug steals a robot cab and escapes to a place where he can look inside the briefcase, open it up, and he finds a message from himself, from Hauser. He tells Doug that he used to work for Cohagen, but he met a woman, and he realized he was working for the wrong team. He wanted to help the Resistance instead of Cohagen on Mars. He tells him he has to shove this device up his nose and press the button, and then it's going to pull out this tracker. And he does this, and it looks really good. I mean, you can tell this was just very, very good special effects in this movie as far as everything goes. I really liked it, especially when you consider this is 1990. They did an awesome job with this. So he pulls the tracker out, and he tells Doug he needs to get to Mars. So Doug makes it to Mars, even though he's like the most wanted man ever right now. He makes it to Mars disguised as a woman, but the costume starts messing up. The face gets all distorted, and the head splits open. And the guards are coming after him, so he takes the head off and tosses it at the guards, and it explodes, allowing Doug to escape. So Doug goes and he checks his safety deposit box, and it tells him to go to a sex club and find this woman, Melina. So he meets a friendly cab driver who takes him to the sex club, the last resort. We get the famous triple boob scene, which was also in the new movie. However, it was very, very short in the new movie. And he finds Melina, a girl at the last resort, and it's also the girl from his dreams. And he tells her he doesn't remember anything. He isn't Hauser anymore. He was married, and she gets pissed. She slaps him across the face, tells him to leave. So Doug goes back to the hotel, and a man from Recall shows up. And I thought this was a really cool scene because in this movie they try to make you think, is this happening? Is this part of the recall? Is this just the fake memory, or is it happening? So I really like this scene where the recall guy shows up, and he tells him that he is still back at Recall. None of this is happening. We're not really here. We're not even on Mars. And Lori, his wife, shows up, and they tell him to take this pill, and he'll wake up, and everything will be fine. And Quaid says, well, if that's true, I can just kill you. And he says, yeah, you can, but you know you'll never wake up then. So he's thinking about it, and he's about to take the pill. He puts it in his mouth, and then he sees the guy from Recall sweating. So he just instantly, bam, shoots the guy right in the face. Yeah, Douglas Quaid was a total badass in this movie. He didn't think twice when it came to just shooting somebody. But the minute he kills this guy, the guards bust in, and Doug is captured. However, Melina shows up to save him. Melina gets into a fight with his ex-wife, Lori, and they start fighting. And then Lori is about to kill Melina, and once again, Doug just busts a cap right in her head and kills Lori. So Doug and Melina are escaping. Doug is just pushing innocent people away. I really thought that was funny. He's running down the stairs, and he's like, move! And just tossing these innocent people. But the friendly cab driver shows up, he helps them get away, and they escape to the last resort where the mutants help them hide into these tunnels. Of course, Richter, Michael Ironside, shows up with his group asking where they are. Triple Boobs, sadly, gets killed here. That was unnecessary, but she gets killed. Cohagen cuts off the air supply to the mutant district. And Doug, the cab driver, and Melina are in the tunnel, and they get picked up by the Resistance. And we find out that the cab driver is actually a mutant. He takes his hand off, and he's got like this E.T. claw thing going on. And Doug is taken to Kawato, who is actually, I guess he's supposed to be a conjoined twin. One of the members of the Resistance has Kawato, who's like the leader of the Resistance, actually living inside him. He's like this kind of It reminds me of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how you had Krang and he would be inside that big body. So it's kind of like that. And he's telling Doug he needs to remember to open his mind to him. And he just kept saying that. And while Doug is remembering, Cohaagen finds the resistance, and the cab driver shows up and kills Kawato. He says, we were just using Doug to find Kawato. We were using you the whole time. And the cab driver just basically was working for Cohaagen the entire time. So Cohaagen tells Doug that he did exactly what he wanted to. He plays a video of Hauser actually telling Doug that he was using himself, and now he wants his body back. He wants his body and his memories back in Doug's body. So they take him to a recall machine and they strap him in. They're gonna switch. They're gonna brainwash him and Melina. Doug escapes, however, from the machine. We get another great fight scene here. I really like this fight scene with the scientist trying to stop Doug, and he's just kicking all their asses. He rescues Melina. Great scene. And they head out. The cab driver tries to kill him in a giant drill, but Doug stabs him. Doug and Melina are trying to get air back to the district before the mutants die, and they get surrounded. And this was another great scene because they get into a shootout with all the guards. However, they use these hologram devices that Doug has to trick the guards, and that was really cool. And then it comes down to Doug fighting Richter on an elevator, and Richter's arms get cut off. Great death because he was such a bad villain, so you wanted to see him have to suffer a little bit. And Doug finally gets to the top. He's going to turn the air on, but Cohaagen shows up. Melina shows up and just shoots Cohaagen, and then he gets sucked out into Mars, and his head explodes. He does the whole thing. His face is all shaky, and his eyes are popping out of his head. It was a great scene, and Doug eventually gets the air cut back on. However, he and Melina get sucked out into Mars also, and their heads start to kind of change too, but not nearly as fast as Cohaagen. Like, they're about to die, and their faces are getting distorted, but when Cohaagen got sucked out, it was like immediately. His eyes were popping out. So I thought that was kind of weird, but the plan works. It still looked cool, and the plan works, and they changed the atmosphere, so now everyone can breathe, and Doug and Melina kiss, and that was it. So it just kind of, I don't know, they changed the atmosphere somehow, and everything's fine. But yeah, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen the original, you should definitely check it out. I know a lot of people prefer the original over the new one, but I think the new one's good in its own right. There's a few differences, but I thought they did a great job creating an atmosphere of this world. But the original's great too. I mean, you can't deny the original. It's a classic. So yeah, that's my review recap of the original Total Recall from 1990. I hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the original movie in the comments below, and thanks for watching.